Aaron, if you talk positive about this movie, I'm going to figure out a way to punch you in the dick through the camera.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, presented by CinemaSins.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, a weekly look at everything going on inside the world of CinemaSins. I'm Aaron Dicer, and this week I'm joined by fellow Bafflegabbers Jonathan Watkins.
Hello, hello.
And Ian Whittington.
Hello.
We write for CinemaSins and TV Sins and do various other things inside the CinemaSins universe as well. You just put a little stink on that every single time.
Little funk on the end of it.
It's really, really nice. How are you guys doing? How's the new year treating you? How's life in 2022?
Good. We've already had 2 snowstorms, which we don't usually get.
Nice.
We usually don't get more than one, so it's been fun.
Yeah. Yes. Officially, it has gone from where we're at in the 70s to less than a week later, snow and ice on the ground, which, that is what it's like living in misery. So, yeah.
You don't have to pronounce it that way, though.
Oh, wait, did I mispronounce the state I live in?
It's definitely a choice.
It's a choice. Well, whatever the weather is where you are at, we are glad that you have chosen to pop us in your ear holes today. We are excited to talk about all the stuff that's going on in the Sinsverse. We'll go ahead and get into it with the SinSide Scoop.
What's he building in there?
I've got a secret.
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
This is a true story.
We're going to take a look at the videos from the week, the process of sinning them, how we felt about the stuff we are sinning. We'll kick it off in commercial world. Jonathan wrote on the Tooth Tunes commercial, I think called Up Down. I did not know this was a thing. I have no idea how this escaped my attention.
You totally missed this?
I mean,
you have children.
I would have had children in 2007, which is when I think this was that would have been like 8, 6, 4, and 2. Like this is perfect.
You can still get them. I mean, they still exist.
One of these. I had one.
Wow.
And I'm
That's
pretty
amazing.
sure it was the Black Eyed Peas one. I'm 90% sure that 17-year-old me decided that was something I wanted.
This completely missed me. All I can think is that I was already... I need to compare this to when we got our first DVR, because once we had DVR, I did not see commercials. And so that's the only thing I can think is if we had a TiVo or whatever the first DVR we ever had, maybe with DirecTV, a built-in box or something around then, that might be the only explanation as to how we missed this. But this was totally new to me. Jonathan, you were the one that wrote on it, so talk a little bit about your experience with this and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I had to look it up and stuff to find out what year it was and stuff. I had no idea. I didn't know anything about this. I didn't have a kid in 2007. I'm assuming these commercials, if they had them, were on Nickelodeon stuff like that.
So. That's where I remember.
Yeah, that's
seeing
probably
it.
wasn't.
Nickelodeon,
That was stuff I wasn't watching on the regular because I was an adult, didn't have kids. So this totally missed me. It seemed like an awful product, but I guess technically it's still around, so I guess somebody's buying them. But I don't know. I was just imagining if my daughter had this, and that's where all that came from with the however many minutes a day that the parent would be in hell, and then they would wish all their kids had cavities and probably that they had used protection in the first place. That's where all that.
It was. Yeah. My note for that was just Jesus, Jonathan.
And then just the Kiss, I just out of all the bands, and not that people know who Kiss is. It's not like Kiss isn't known. Even kids probably at least at that time might have known who Kiss was. But I just thought that was such a weird one to target the advertising around. So. Yeah. And I got to talk about my favorite Kiss song, Lonely is the Hunter, so that was fun.
Nice.
I imagined it being sung by chimps, but, that's okay. That'd be interesting. So. No, this was fun to write on.
Ian, why don't you go next?
Am I the only one that thinks this product makes perfect sense?
Yeah, probably. I'd never heard of it, so I still have to consider it a little more. While you're talking, I'll think about how much sense it makes, but go ahead.
Science.
Yeah, it might be... kids are irritating, full stop. So I guess you must build up a base level of immunity to them being obnoxious. So, but one of the things that this saves you from doing is telling them how long to brush their teeth for. So I was no, don't just flick it around and then discard it. Stop. they do it for 2 minutes so that you get the full amount of brushing, and then they look forward to brushing their teeth because kids are dumb. Like, it doesn't take much to keep them entertained. So for me, this was a genius product, and it worked on me. And I was like, well, I don't even have kids. I'm just going to use this on my teenage self because it makes sense. You mentioned the sin that I loved, parents wishing they'd use contraception, and just the Hilary Duff and Black Eyed Peas got the clap after this. We're not saying it's because of Kiss, but we're not saying that as well. That was amazing.
I don't know if I think it makes much sense or not. I think as a parent, I would have thought it's going to be cheap. It's going to stop working. It's not going to sound right. But, I don't know that I was having much trouble, getting my kids to brush their teeth for a certain amount of time.
Lucky you.
Let me finish my sentence. I was having trouble getting them to brush their teeth at all. So that aspect of it is appealing to me if I thought that would work, and they'd be like, oh, I want to hear that Black Eyed Peas song for the 100th time in a row. Let me put that in my mouth. You might be right. You might be right, Ian. Maybe my kids will have teeth falling out here in the next few years, and if only I had bought them Tooth Tunes, everything might be different. If only.
You still can. It's not too late. You can order those babies off Amazon.
That's right. As far as the video goes, you guys mentioned the ones I loved, except for Tooth Tunes is the only brush that sends music through your teeth. Science. Ending anything with like science being the exclamation point is always fun for me. All right, let's move into TV sins. We'll start with Doctor Who, the next Doctor. Ian and I writing on this one. Yes. Ian, this is your first year being here around Christmas when we do our annual Doctor Who Christmas special. So it's your first chance writing on Doctor Who. So I'll let you begin. How was that experience for you?
That was amazing. I think like the second week that I started, I messaged you and I was like, you better put me on Doctor Who. I swear I will leave if you don't let me sin Doctor Who. We do this once a year, Dicer. You better let me sin this. And you're like, yeah, no, you're on it. But you have to put in as many deep cuts as possible. So I think that was my favourite part, was really, because I would love to do more Doctor Who. I really, really, really would. Probably not classic Doctor Who because that's hard to watch normally, let alone when you're sinning it. But
it might be really fun to send some of that old stuff, though. A lot easier. It could be interesting.
It's almost like too mean, isn't it? Because you comment on like the sets being naff and whatever. You'd have to be clever about it, which I think we could be. But yeah, this was a great opportunity to flex one of my nerddoms. And yeah, just absolutely loved it. This isn't a good episode by any stretch of the imagination. The problem with the Christmas specials is that they were kind of a gift from the BBC to whatever TV show is big at the time. So there's no guarantee that there was going to be a Christmas special. And since Doctor Who's kind of declined a bit, it's been shunted to New Year's Day. So we don't really get a Christmas special from them anymore. But this one, they're kind of throwaway episodes. They rarely have anything to do with anything that's going on. They're just standalone adventures where they can, hey, let's be ridiculous and make a literal giant Cyberman that looks shoddy and doesn't make any sense to any bad guy in the world. But yeah, some of the sins that I really liked, replacing a tenant with a smith was chef's kiss. I was like, wait, that doesn't make... Yes, no, it does! That's great! That was nice. That was really, really cool. League of Extra Bored and Starey Gentlemen was beautiful. The wordplay was very strong in this script. I love that. But the two favourite things I managed to stick in there was sinning Trial of a Time Lord, even though it's got nothing to do with this episode. And there was a lot of love in the comments for that. It was like, that sin was a long way to go, but it was worth it to sin Trial of a Time Lord, it's a notorious 12-hour long episode of Doctor Who that's so bad. It's so bad. And just the info projector thing that the Daleks invented to project a ton of information, and that instead of just showing random pictures of what the Doctor looks like, it should have been an infographic on how stairs work, because the Daleks are the most feared creatures in the universe, and it took 50 years for them to master steps. So yeah, I think that's gorgeous. And I think the run of outtakes that we did on this was really fun as well.
Yeah, lots of fun stuff.
I've been saying Daleks wrong my entire life. Not that I've said it more than like 3 times my entire life.
yeah.
I've always said Daleks.
Daleks?
But what
Yeah.
exactly are Daleks?
So if we want to do this now, the Daleks.
Sure, go ahead. Do you want to
Yep.
try? You want to hear what I think they are, and then you can
Yes.
correct my
There's
knowledge.
like multiple.
Oh no, correct. Go for
There's
it. Yeah,
there's different ways to
Because
look at
Ian
them.
obviously knows exactly what they are, but here's my interpretation based on just watching the new series, and I've watched all the episodes of the new series. But it is the Doctor's enemy race, basically. Like it's his big bad, and it's basically I think they're creatures that have built this armor for themselves that is basically just completely for war. Like all they want to do is exterminate, kill. It's like built into them. But if
Are they
my
aliens?
but my understanding is they're an alien race that has so built war around them that basically who they are is just kind of shriveled up inside these machines. Is that close, Ian? Is that
Yeah, you're most of the way there. So
Okay.
the original, it's one of the earliest Doctor Who episodes, and they obviously come from a planet called Skaro, and there's 2 races that live on this planet, the Khaleds and the Thals. And the Thals are like really peace-loving. The Khaleds basically nuke all of them, but they make their own planet so inhabitable that they have to build these machines to live inside of. And then so Khaleds backwards is Daleks because they're clever. And yeah, they just become this race of... they basically poisoned themselves. They can't survive any way other than inside the dustbins that they're now stuck in. And yeah, they've just shriveled up and just become so filled with hatred and evil that that's what they do. They just go around trying to kill everyone because their planet isn't livable. But yeah, you got most of the way there.
Yep, they are sociopathic trash cans, as we call them in the script. I have a lot of fun sending these Christmas specials. I think it's a nice, fun tradition for us. I'm not opposed to sending more Doctor Who down the road. But yeah, these days on TV Sins, man, finding the slots to send all the things that would be really fun and good to send, it becomes a little difficult. So it's nice to have this tradition every year to at least get one Doctor Who episode out every year. This is possibly the worst Christmas special. Am I wrong in like putting it at least in that conversation?
It's in the conversation, yeah.
And I think one of the reasons is there's 2 things going on, and the one that the show seems more interested in isn't the thing it ends with. Like it seems more interested in the fake doctor stuff. And it spends so much of the episode on, what's going on with this, who's this fake doctor, that by the time we get to the battle at the end in the baddie, it's like, yeah, but we don't even know this baddie really. Like, there hasn't been enough for us to really care. I mean, other than, you don't want somebody to kill a bunch of people, but like to understand it in any, greater term than that is kind of handcuffed a little bit. The other thing I wanted to mention that I think we rightfully sinned is that fake doctor is kind of needs some care, because he goes from like he is all over the spectrum in like what he wants to do. Like he thinks he's the doctor, and then he's like totally torn up by the reality of his world, losing his wife or whatever. And then all of a sudden he's back to being like, crazy, arrogant doctor guy. Like it's so weird. I get the first transition. It's the second transition that kind of makes no sense. Like, how did he get, back to like being so strong at the end?
I thought it was weird after the zombies showed up and they started calling him governor. And
yeah, that's a leap.
Yeah,
Carl. But I think part of the problem is we don't know who he was before. So maybe he is an eccentric person and he's reverting back to that.
Did he ever come back?
We just don't know. And that's so I was so excited for this episode when it first came out, because this was the first time ever they'd been bold enough to show us a future Doctor. Until they didn't. Yeah. I was like, I really hope you've done it. I hope we are dealing with a future Doctor here, and Neil Morrissey's a big enough actor and a good enough actor for him to be a Doctor. He looked like he could be, but yeah, it wasn't to be, and I think that's why it all comes through as hollow, because it was like 6 months of waiting for this episode to come out, and then it wasn't a Doctor at all.
Who was the next one? Matt Smith?
Matt Smith after this, yeah.
Yeah.
But there's still like a whole other season of Tenet after this.
There's another season with Catherine Tate, and then there's some specials where it took him literally a year to die of human time, and it's they're
That's some
interesting.
good stuff though. That's some really good stuff that last Tenet season.
Yeah,
there's some good moments.
What do you mean, Catherine Tate's or the specials?
Both. I just think the way they finished up Tenet's run was pretty powerful. I thought it was pretty.
Want to go.
Yeah. It was an early Spider-Man, right? It was an early, it's kind of that feeling of, like when Spider-Man gets dusted, Tenet kind of has some of a similar feeling to his regeneration.
We're going to disagree on that, but we'll save that. We'll save that for a discussion later.
I just fell asleep.
Yeah, I'm sure you did.
Star Trek.
The only other one I wanted to mention was the pedanticness of saying that this man needs a thank you and then saying bravo and just calling him out that bravo does not mean thank you.
Right, do you know specifically why that one irked me? And I've saved this because I may be channeling some anger at you accidentally, so I apologise. But
no, go for it.
In a script ages ago, somebody says brava to a man, and I sinned the fact that no, you should be saying bravo, because brava is for a woman and bravo is for a man. But the sin got cut for being too pedantic. And I was like, no, that's what we do. How is that too pedantic? And then this shit comes up, and I'm like, Dicey, you bastard. And I'm sure you're the one that cut it. I'm sure you are.
I don't remember that. I wouldn't have cut that. I wouldn't have cut.
It may have been Chris. I apologise. In which case, Chris, you were perfectly right. I was out of line, and we shouldn't have done it.
All right, Jonathan, what about you? What are some of your thoughts on Doctor Who?
I obviously don't have the Doctor Who knowledge that you two do. I hated this. I had to watch this to shadow, and I think it took me like 3 different sittings to get through it. So this was easily, of the 3 or 4 Christmas specials that we've done, this was my least favorite episode. And the only other episodes I've seen, I think I've seen like the first 3 or 4 of the first season, because I was trying to watch it at one point, and I didn't hate it, but I got sidetracked and other things started happening, and then I kind of forgot about it. But maybe I'll watch it at some point. Now there's so much though. I don't. It seems a little.
The hill's getting harder to climb. That's for sure.
Yeah, it doesn't.
And it's really hard for me not to want to go, because like I just like to start at the beginning, and I feel like there's enough separation to where I can just start with this one, but I don't know.
Yeah, and
why is the old versions bad? Because I know I saw some of those as a kid, but I don't remember them that well. Is it just the cheapness of them?
Yeah, so I'm being very defensive because I think they're good. And there are, out of the 7,000 stories that are told, there are some excellent ones, especially in like the middle run. Anything in the 70s is fantastic.
Oh, so you do like some of the older stuff. Oh, I thought you were saying
I prefer it.
I thought you were saying you didn't.
No, I far prefer it, but I'm just very aware that it's because I grew up with it, and coming at it now as a modern audience, it's difficult because the production quality is so low. Some of the acting is like really, really hammy and cheesy. It's like having so much of the original series to watch of Star Trek, but it's worth watching if you're into sci-fi and you like the concept. It's absolutely worth watching it.
The stories are there, right? Like the writing's probably strong,
fantastic.
Which is why the episodes of the original series that you mentioned, the ones that hold up, that's why they hold up.
They really hold up. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And all of the regeneration stories are great.
Well, see, now you're making it seem like I have to watch the older version, so I'm definitely never doing this. That's too much.
You absolutely don't.
And one of the unfortunate things is there are many older episodes you can't watch because they're gone. Yeah, so it's a really interesting thing. I have watched some of the older ones. I think they're fine. I haven't watched them in a way that I usually watch, especially sci-fi television, which is to be a completist. And so, there is that part of it, but I haven't gone. I think it's really interesting. Ian, maybe you can speak to this. I think it's really interesting that they decided to make Doctor Who 2005 its own quote unquote show. You know what I mean? Like it has its own, TVDB entry. Like it's its own. Doctor Who 2005 is its own thing.
That might be the first I don't know if you like legacy reboot or whatever you want to call it, like what they're doing with a ton of shows now, or like CSI's back, and you know what I'm saying? Like it kind of feels like...
But it continues the continuity from the previous show. Even though we're back to season 1,
yeah,
it's still... it's continuing from where it stopped
It's just it's an
1997.
I don't know that it's a bad decision. In fact, I think it may. I think one of the reason Doctor Who has had its renaissance is because they made that decision. I think it's easier for people to grasp it as its own thing. But it really is. I mean, it's just a continuation of this same show. Like it's not Star Trek Next Generation. It's not like a completely different, cast because the Doctor is the same character.
It's true, but in a lot of ways, it is like TNG because it's in the same timeline as much as Doctor Who can have a timeline.
Right.
It's an entirely new cast. The ship is still called the TARDIS. It's still called the Enterprise. Mm-hmm. So in a lot of ways, it is the same. They've just reset it to season 1. I think I've got to imagine it's like not calling Scream 5 and just calling it Scream, because if you called this, I think it would be Doctor Who season 51 or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah.
So I think you either pick an arbitrary number like this is season 9 because you're with the 9th Doctor, or you just go back to 1 to make it simple.
Ooh,
and
I like that idea. Has anybody reordered seasons by Doctor? Like the idea season 1 is the first Doctor and then you just have,
I would love
100
that.
episodes. That's a great way to look at it. I would love that.
I would love it. I wish so they have released a good chunk of the back catalogue on Blu-ray now, and I wish that's how they had done it, but they've released it by year that it came out instead.
Yeah, because that's what's always been done before. Yeah.
All the adventures that came out in the TV season of 70 to 71, that's on one Blu-ray, but I would much rather have all of Tom Baker, so on and so on.
Yeah. Jonathan, that conversation interrupted your Doctor Who thoughts, so continue on.
No, you're fine. You guys mentioned a bunch of them I had. I did like the narrator referring to entering through a window as crowning. I thought that was And I loved the take on the vanity sin, vanity by proxy, and getting this excited to hear someone screaming your name outside of the bedroom.
Yeah.
It was very funny.
He was so happy that somebody was saying Doctor. It was wild.
That's
me.
He was very, very excited.
He was.
I love David Tennant. I do love David Tennant.
I do too, man.
Right. Even in a bad episode, he's fun to watch.
Yeah.
Or a bad movie, which I've seen plenty.
What was the horror movie that he was in that was actually kind of good?
Horror movie? I don't know.
Yeah, he did. I think it was a reboot. I think
Fright Night. You're talking about Fright Night.
Yeah. I thought that movie was actually pretty good.
Wasn't as good as the original, but it was fun.
All right, let's move into some more Rick and Morty. Trying to get season 2 finished off. So we did episode 7, Big Trouble in Little Sanchez. This also a Dicer Whittington script. Ian and I writing on this one.
Yeah.
Since Ian started last time, I'll start this time. Sitting Rick and Morty is fun for many reasons. One, it's a really fun show, so it's always fun to kind of go back and watch these old episodes. 2, the audience of Rick and Morty seems to love what we do. And so anytime we put these out, the comment sections are really fun and really enjoyable. I had forgotten this episode, and I think this is one of my favorite episodes. I really love specifically the Beth and Jerry stuff in this episode, the marriage counseling stuff. It's just so real, and yet at the same time so not real. It's just, I don't know, there's something about the way this show manages to deal with actual human emotion and complications and complexity, and do it in such a careless way that is still funny but still meaningful sometimes. And it just reminded me, especially back in those first couple seasons, I do think they were more invested in actual character movement as opposed to it's just become more and more the meta show as it's continued on, which I understand. I totally get. But yeah,
especially
really
now it has so much to self-reference.
Yes,
there's an episode where they've said, "Hey, remember Pickle Rick? Remember that? Remember that thing?"
Right.
It's kind of archery where they self-reference the phrasing as well.
Yes, archery, not with the arrows. The TV show. Yeah.
Is Rick and Morty big in the UK?
It's still cult. I think it's as big here as it is in America. It's still one of those. It's cult, isn't it? It has a cult following more than. Or not? I suppose it's bigger than that now.
Say everything today seems like a cult following.
Yeah.
You can say Yellow Jackets, which is really kind of buzzy right now. Excuse the pun.
I hate that so much because it's the perfect word, but we can't use it.
Right.
Is it bigger than the American Office?
I would have to say yes, because
I was just kidding. I thought UK hated the American Office.
But that's the point I was about to make, is that we have our office, and it's two different. They're two different shows though, and I love them all.
One of the things I don't like about this is that the premise of the Beth Jerry stuff doesn't make sense. That this amazing marriage counseling place can't handle codependency. That doesn't happen in other races. That somehow Beth and I almost said Rick, but Beth and Jerry are so messed up that even this place has never seen anything like this. Come on. I mean, it's there. It can't be both that typical a relationship and also that messed up that they would never have heard of it at the same time. So
and to not have a sign on the door saying, by the way, we can't handle codependency. Like it's that common, they should advertise that.
That's right. Smearing your arm oil on your worm husband and then following it up with, honestly, guys, have you ever tried to sin this show?
It's perfect.
Because it's so true. It's just like, how do you sin something like this sometimes?
You just have to observe it. Say what's on the screen.
Yeah. And then the other one I want to mention was the one that kind of plays on how authentic some of this stuff is, and the one that says, no show has a right to be this funny and genuinely insightful at the same time. It's really not fair to other shows. And yes, that means I'm giving this show a sin because other shows can't match it. But don't look at me that way. You knew which channel you clicked on, honey. I love throwing a honey on the end there for whatever reason. It made me feel
patronizing.
Yes, it made me feel like this narrator has a next level of patronization. Nice. What about you, Ian?
I really like the run of Archer saying phrasing. I had 4 in there to begin with. So it'd pop up every now and again, like phrasing, but we narrowed it down to 2, which is probably fair. And the Michael Knight sin is fantastic, and
I had that down. Yeah,
actually having Rick narrate over a Knight Rider video as if he was sinning it
doesn't exist.
Yeah, that doesn't. Yeah. It's so fun. It's so good.
I wonder how many people are going to look for that Knight Rider video now.
Yeah, I have that in my keeping tabs. I have some other thoughts on that in my keeping tabs.
CinemaSins Knight Rider. Why is it not coming up? YouTube, your search engine sucks.
But yeah, this episode is really great. For some reason, I'm the same. I don't remember it either. I've seen every episode, but this one escaped me for some reason, even though it's saying some profound stuff. And yeah, it has a B plot that feels like it's A plot. And is it just the B plot because it isn't Rick and Morty? Yeah, but it's actually stronger. The Rick and Morty stuff did just feel like Pickle Rick with vampires and
Tiny
singing.
Rick. Tiny Rick. I mean, I guess you'd have to say Pickle Rick is the adaptation of Tiny Rick, since Tiny Rick came first. But yeah.
Oh, did it? Oh, yeah. That's
Pickle
so
Rick
funny.
is season 3, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it's after that.
Oh, that's really funny. It's great that a continuing joke found its legs so late in the series. That's funny. Yeah. And I love the amount of love that doing the Rick and Morty opening credits, but over the Buffy intro in the outtakes was that worked so well. That's all from me.
Jonathan, what about you?
So when I saw this was on the schedule this week, I was like, I don't remember doing this one, and that's because I didn't. I had nothing to do with it. I'm usually involved some way on the Rick and Morty's, but this was just you two, and I guess Chris was probably the shadow. That's usually how we do Rick and Morty because he's a big fan. But I didn't remember anything about this other than I just remembered Little Rick. I remembered that, but I didn't remember the context of the vampire and all that kind of stuff, and I didn't remember any of the Jerry and Beth stuff, which was really funny. You guys have mentioned just about everything. I did like the making me use the phrase "in fairness to Jerry." I thought that was really funny.
Yeah.
And someone needs to tell me about the research that came up with the 41%.
That's nicer.
I can put that in my keeping tabs too. I didn't think about putting
Google that.
I
like
certainly
how many
did.
people are having
I
anal
certainly
sex?
did. Yeah. I absolutely Googled how many people have anal sex. And
I just like the excuses when his wife finds the internet search history. No, it was for work.
It's the fact that wasn't going to be his keeping tabs. It's like, you know what? That's too mundane.
Like, that's
too much like my Tuesdays.
Well, I mean, it's just I Googled it. There's not a lot of keeping tabs to it.
We know how you got there.
Yeah. So there you go.
I just didn't know if that was actual research or that was just a made up number.
It was.
And I wish I hadn't asked the question.
Yeah.
No, it was a great video though. I enjoyed it. But Rick and Morty is fun to send.
It really is. It really is. All right, let's head into CinemaSins, The Breakfast Club, which we kind of did a little we almost released, and then so like our members were like, hey, I've seen this. Where have I seen this video
that
before?
Was this one.
The confusion. It was like a collective invented memory, but it was like,
Yeah.
no, we've seen this.
That makes
Yeah.
more sense because I saw somebody says, hasn't this one already been done? And now I don't know if they were joking or if they were being serious. Like,
Yeah.
but I guess there are some people that patrons probably just watch it. Members probably just watch it on the night
Yeah, for
before.
sure.
They don't go back to YouTube and
Right.
watch it all the time. So
So this was
Makes sense.
Cardoso Whittington. So this was Ian and Daniel writing on this one with a little bit of assist from Chris reviewing. But yeah, Ian, tell us a little bit about this one.
how long ago is this? This is pretty early, right?
2011, it feels like. This, I think we wrote this in October. So this would have been one of the first scripts where I was doing it full time. So I'd seen this film once in 2010 when I was at uni, because it was hyped up so much, and it was just one that I decided to tick off
that's
with
a weird-
my
I
housemate.
can imagine watching this movie for the first time in 2010.
It's so strange. So yeah, 20-year-old me saw this for the first time and immediately forgot about it. I was like, it was too hyped up. It was too.
Yeah. No, I get
the
it.
phrase "Breakfast Club" was too much in the consciousness for it to be as good. So this time round, it held up a lot better, and I enjoyed it more. I can appreciate how 80s it is. Like, it is the most 80s thing to ever 80s ever. But I got more out of it this time round for sure, and it's saying some stuff that very few movies at the time and probably even today are saying. So yeah, really, really enjoyed it. It's one that I remember there's certain scripts that are burnt into my mind because of how long I took on it. Like this one, I really, really, really wanted to get right. So I must have watched it 4 times and spent like 4 or 5 days actually writing the script and massaging all of it. But yeah, I really enjoyed working with Daniel on this one because I got to see everything that he wrote as well. And as I've said before, the man writes poetry. Like when he says about the screw that's missing from the door, I was like, I'd stand here staring at the rubble of civilization, and is everything just missing a screw? It's so great. It's so abstract and such a new flavor for Sins videos.
The narrator prompt on that sin, as I was re-looking through that, was that it was like Jeffrey Wright in What If. Like that.
Perfect.
That was supposed to be the feel for it.
Yeah,
So
that's
yeah, I thought
amazing.
that was interesting. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. One of my favorite things to do in a lot of scripts is look up words for things that happen that need a word. So nail biting. So obnoxious onychophagia. So I was like, it's nail biting. Why do we need a Latin term for that? But of course we do, and it's onychophagia, and I love it a lot. The lead-in is your parents must have. Yeah, your parents' wet dream. Bender is talking to Brian. Like either Bender doesn't understand parents or he doesn't understand wet dreams.
I had that one too. Yeah.
It's so good. It's great. When Ali, is it Ali? It's Ali.
Ali Sheedy, yeah.
Ali, yeah. When she's making that bizarre sandwich, and it's not the materials, but the construction method that makes this sandwich sinful. And it's great because it'd be easy to go after the crap that she puts in the sandwich, but yeah, how she builds it is really bizarre. The makeover is the biggest frustrating part of this movie for me. Ali's makeover, it happens right at the end. It strips her of everything. There's nothing to like about it.
It's terrible. It's the worst part of the movie by far. Yeah.
By far, and it's aged so poorly. Even though, there's a few bits.
There's a few lines. I just mean as far as like overall plot. Like,
Yeah.
It's that cliche of even the alternative goth kid, deep down, they want to be a princess as well. And I was like, no, they fucking don't. Like, not everyone wants to be a princess by default. That's really, 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 really frustrating.
But Ian did. Ian wanted to be a princess.
I
by
still
default.
want to be a princess, but that's just because I want the horse. But yeah, really, 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 really enjoyed doing this video, and I love, love, love writing with Daniel.
Yeah. Jonathan, what about you?
This was a movie I watched a lot as a younger person. This is probably my favorite John Hughes movie. I do really like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I'm not as big a Ferris Bueller fan, I think, as a lot of people are, but this is the one always stuck with me. It definitely is problematic in parts, like a lot of his movies have, but I don't think it's as problematic as like 16 Candles or Weird Science. And I think it actually, I don't know, like I think even I don't know that it hits like all the dramatic beats it tries to hit that successfully. It seems a little nowadays, looking at it this many years later, some of it feels a little after school special-ish, but I still think it's interesting that it went there. Like you guys hitting on the talk about the honest discussion about suicide in the movie. Like that's just like, I'm so shocked that in 1985 there was a movie that, you know, dealt with it in that way. And then also hitting on the fact that they have to make a joke to kind of like ease it a little bit. And I totally agree. That's just like weird.
You can give it credit for going there, and maybe you give it a bit of grace for having to wrap it in this joke, but it kind of tramples on the whole point when you turn the cause of the suicide into the butt of a joke. So I think we took it to task quite well.
And I think everybody, for the most part, is doing pretty good work here, especially after seeing, which I think this had more to do with the writing, but seeing how bad Anthony Michael Hall was in Halloween Kills. It was kind of nice remembering how good he was, you know, why he was becoming a star at such a young age, and Molly Ringwald and Emilio. And Emilio is probably my least favorite of the crew, but he's okay. The pot scene is the scene that has always like thrown me off. Like that's the scene that was when you said worst scene. I think the pot scene is my least favorite scene, because it's like, you would think, I don't know, I know nothing about John Hughes, but I would think somebody on that set knew enough about smoking marijuana to know that was ridiculous.
Like they were on a pill of some sort. They weren't on marijuana.
No, they were like on angel dust. I don't know what they were doing, but
also they totally hotboxed that entire library or whatever. Like, how do you even do that?
Yeah.
Like, how do you even have enough pot to like create a cloud that large? Like,
an atmosphere of marijuana has emerged.
I mean, I've been like I used to smoke like cigarettes, and like I've been in like closed-in smoking sections of like cafeterias and stuff, and it never looks like that. And that's like 50 or 60 people smoking, you know? So the fact that Emilio Estevez could go in there and do that, I mean, he would be dead, I think. I have no idea. But as far as the sins, I mean, like I mentioned the suicide stuff, I thought that was really well done. I liked the explaining in detail why knocking your dick in the dirt is a weird flex. Like I like how the narrator gets all into like, maybe if he rolled around on this angle and then picked it up, and that was great. Bender was definitely brushing his teeth with this earlier. This is how you get ants. I thought that was a great work on that wording on that sin. You guys mentioning how there's 0% breakfast in this movie.
100%
and there's
lunch.
100% lunch. I saw somewhere somebody commented that it was originally called the Lunch Club. I don't know. I didn't look into it to see if that was actually true, but I did see somebody mention that.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I don't know. And then I just like the which I was shocked to see nobody called you out on this, but I love that. Is anyone else getting tired of modern movies being set during the 80s? Like, I took that to mean you were calling this a modern movie, which was really funny. You know,
it's very trolly.
I was expecting somebody to be like, this was made in the 1980s.
I was waiting for it, because there's the Stranger Things trend, and Stephen King, like just if in doubt, said it in the 80s and it will gain you some points. So I was expecting that as well, but I think people got the meta-ness of the joke.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, it was great. And I had no idea who wrote on this, so that's always like I think a compliment, because it just felt so authentic. I don't know.
I agree. It's a great video. The Breakfast Club I came to, as with a lot of 80s movies, later. I wasn't watching a lot of movies in the 80s. So I came to it later, and late enough that I was aware of how some of the stuff had aged poorly. But there is something about these actors together. Like there is a reason they worked, and there's some good chemistry stuff. There's some, some good stuff going on there. So I remember liking this movie well enough. The sins video, I wanted to pull out the sin about anyone who paid 25 cents for book covers instead of using paper bags, because that hit me on such a nostalgic level. I was just like, I remember both those book covers you could buy at the school, and also just that we just, used grocery bags to cover our books. And then I just got thinking, was that really something we all had to do? Like, what? Like, is it? It's going to be okay, right? If we scuff the cover a little bit. Like, it's just like, why did we all have to cover it? My kids don't do that now.
No,
we stopped doing that at some point. Because honestly, what a waste of time and energy. And it was
I remember at school getting told off for books being in bad condition.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if that was the school trying to hustle us out of money. It's like, you will get detention if you don't protect your books. So buy this thing.
Yes. How about you just let us learn and you pay for the books, school?
Yes.
Anyways,
yeah. No. That's the thing. I went to private school, and we actually had to buy. My mom had to buy the books, and then you could sell them back at the end of the year. But then, like, they would say, "Oh, you scuffed it up, so we can only give you so much back," or "We've discontinued this book." So that was a whole other thing.
Yeah, what a con.
So maybe that's why I don't know about the covers.
Weird stuff. After he makes, I think, basically an implied rape comment. The Sin is screenwriter thinks this guy deserves to get the girl at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really, really good. Flicking a paper football without someone holding up thumb and forefinger goalposts. Thank you very much. Another big nostalgia burst.
I'm sure
me.
Ian wrote that because he's all into football. So.
Oh, yeah. It was originally a tennis strike, but I morphed it into...
Listen,
no, that was Daniel.
It was legit. We played finger football all the time in school.
Yeah.
All
and
the
basketball with a coin. You remember that? The penny or whatever?
Yes.
So... This is really, really interesting. At so you guys did it like this. Yeah,
yes.
You've got the... Sorry, this isn't going to work on audio. But you have fingers pointed upwards with thumb connected. Or like that to make it wider.
Right.
At school, we would genuinely do it the other way around. So
for soccer.
Fingers pointed down for soccer.
Yeah.
So you make a goalpost. That is a fascinating cultural quirk.
Makes perfect sense,
football
though.
everywhere else
it makes
in the
total
world.
sense.
Makes perfect sense. That's amazing.
Yeah, because fuck rugby.
That's true. I definitely remember that. And we would use, we all knew how to make paper footballs. Like, that was something, and paper throwing stars. You had to know how to make those two things.
Oh, God. Yeah.
And
Any weapon you can make out of paper. Crucial skill.
And in the other paper thing you had to know was the little, like, thing that opened both ways that you could do, like, choices in. Do you remember those?
Yeah.
Like, those were the three
favorite
things.
color. And,
Those are the three
They
papers.
have a name.
Yeah, I'm sure there is a name for those. There
they
has to be a name
still
for
do them,
those.
too. My daughter has them every now and then.
Yeah.
So.
And then I learned how to make a paper balloon, which was fun. But yeah, we had these little paper things we would do because we didn't have phones. So we had to make up things to do.
I mean, you had to kill that last 10 minutes of lunch somehow.
Yeah, somehow. So great video. Great job, guys. All right, let's move into old. Speaking of great things, this is a Scott
oh my God.
Watkins script, Jeremy.
Aaron, if you talk positive about this movie, I'm going to figure out a way to punch you in the dick through the camera.
In the dirt? You're gonna,
in the dirt.
Yeah.
Punch your dick into the dirt.
through
No, I think I
virtual.
already know what I already know what you think about this movie.
Yeah,
so.
no. I'm sure. But Jonathan, you were on this, so you get to start with what you think and your stuff on this.
I will say, have you only seen it the one time, Aaron?
I have. I've only seen it once.
Yeah,
correct.
don't watch it again. Don't watch
Okay,
it.
I
'Cause
won't.
any good grace you were willing to give this movie, it will be gone the second time you watch it.
I think you underestimate his love of the Shyamalan, to be honest.
No, but I think I'm as big. Aaron and I both are Shyamalan fans. I mean, we're like the only ones on Slack like saying good things about like Glass and, and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Like that's what I'm saying. I genuinely liked. The Visit I was okay with. Like I don't think I liked The Visit quite as much as some people did. I thought it was pretty good. It was interesting to see him do a found footage movie. I really liked Split. And that ending of Split. I still remember being in the theater when that happened and just being like, I don't know. I think I got hard. I have no idea. But and then I enjoyed Glass for what it was. I kind of liked him doing like this. I mean, maybe it's a little pretentious, but I liked the deconstruction that he does in Glass. I just found that pretty fascinating. The twist at the end isn't great, but I still thought that. So going into this, I was kind of interested. Like, yeah, Shyamalan's kind of back, and this movie just fell flat for me, like 100%. Like, it kind of felt like, I always hate saying this because I feel it's cliched, but it's one of those things that felt kind of like a Twilight Zone episode that went on a little too long. And then you find out he adapted this from a graphic novel that didn't really have an ending. And so he created the ending he did, which makes it worse, like in a lot of ways. I just think what this movie ends up being about, like the big pharma thing, I don't know. Like, I mean, it's like, I don't know what we're saying here, that big pharma is bad. Is anybody else? I mean, are there people that are like, oh, big pharma is
Who's making
great?
the opposite argument?
Yeah,
I don't think it's so much about a moral statement on big pharma's ethics. I think it's about asking us a question about actually wrestling with the conundrum, like where our line is. Like, where is our line if it will help a million people to put this one person, in danger? Where is our line? So I think it's trying to ask a conundrum question. I don't think it does it well, but I think that is the intent. The intent more is to be like, well, where is your line as far as the greater good, kind of idea.
Then you have to wonder, like, if like this magical island existed, is this what we would use it for? Like that's where I start. That's kind of where I start going. And I think I even wrote some stuff about that, and then I couldn't really go anywhere with it. But that was kind of my thing. Like, I don't know exactly what you would use it for, but I don't know. It's just weird.
We're definitely underutilizing it, whatever it is. Putting in 6 people at a time. Yeah.
And here's the thing. Why does it have to be secret? Do you know how many people are willing to go into trials for, especially when they have, a disease or something that they're, you know what I mean? Like I think you would have volunteers. I think you would have volunteers for this kind of stuff.
Like if you pay them and then send the money to their families.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely people would volunteer.
Yeah.
But, Jeremy and I had a lot of fun working on this together and going back and forth with just how much we hated the movie. No, it's really bad. Like, I mean, I didn't like it the first time I saw it, but I liked it even less the second time I watched it, and I don't plan on giving it another chance. I don't know. I do love Shyamalan, though, so maybe it's one of those movies I'll check out again in 10 years. I have seen more people defend it. I know people out there like it. But as far as the sins, I just wanted to mention spilling your baby everywhere is probably the darkest thing I've ever written.
I had that down. Yeah.
I was so close to not leaving it in there, but then I was like, I'll see what Jeremy thinks. And he was like, oh my God, man, I love it.
So good.
Well, then I love it. And then Jeremy wrote the one too about like, her being a grandmother. Her being a grandmother. Well, actually, she was for about 30 seconds or whatever it was.
It's so mean.
Jeremy, the narrator, getting so irritated with pro golf being one of the activities because that doesn't make any sense. Like, there's nothing about that makes
I remember
any
Jeremy
sense.
losing it on Slack with that. He was just like 2 seconds into the move, and he's like, "Fuck this movie, pro golf."
Jeremy hates this movie. He
really hates
it. Yeah.
Like you would think I liked it in comparison if you were to talk
You would
to him.
think everybody liked it in comparison to what Jeremy thinks about this movie.
I also like the eating the pasta salad is one of the most disturbing things I've ever seen in my life. So I was really glad when Jeremy, which that is how a kid would do it. I think. I mean, I get it, but it was so gross to watch.
That seems to be the only thing about being a 5-year-old that they've retained. Everything else matured other than how they eat food.
That's what I was going to say. I love the way we ended it with, the way the guy's talking. He's like, he should be replying, me scared.
Yeah, totally.
It was not fun to watch again, but it was very fun to send because there was so much to send.
Yeah. Yeah. Ian, I'm going to let you go next. I'll finish this off.
Because you want to end on a positive note?
No. Listen, there's no full-throated defense of this movie coming from me. So, no. But yeah, go ahead.
So, yeah, I liked this when I first watched it. The thing that held me back was the dialogue. And I was so aware that the dialogue's so stilted and cheesy, and half the characters are there because they're tools to explain the plot. And how they explain the science behind how the beach works and the magic diary that tells them how it works, they are spoon-feeding us, or M. Night is spoon-feeding us exactly how he wants this film to be interpreted. Having said that, the concept itself I really enjoy. There's something about it that I did enjoy while I watched it, even if it is completely over the top. Like, there's some themes that are always fun, but yeah, rewatching the Sins video has convinced me that I will never watch this film again because I want to keep liking it as I remember it, and I think if I watch it again, it will piss me off. But no, you guys did great, and knowing how much Jeremy hated the film, I had no doubt this was going to be a hilarious video. But giving your spouse a quiz really triggered me because it's one of those relationship things that I hate. What are you proving here? It's like, so what did I have for breakfast yesterday? Oh, so if I answer this, that means I love you, and if I get it wrong, it means I don't. Easy. Why didn't we do this 3 years ago instead of wasting so much time together? It's a non sequitur. Like, one thing doesn't mean the other. So yeah, I was so glad to see that. Just the idea that there's some stuff that makes sense in M. Night's head, and the narrator wishes that he would put it through a normal human, so that the normal human can say, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And that would make so many of his films better. Yeah. The lead in is everyone needs to have a voice in this conversation, and the narrator's like, awesome sentiment, let's see how this plays out, ocean cam. And the most like pivotal part you don't see, it's like, that was too complicated to write, I'm gonna have to stick you in the ocean for a little while. And just the narrator losing it with my favourite part of this movie is like, you can't see fucking shit, and it just goes dark. It's like, you can't see what they're doing. There's just some choices here that are so bizarre, so strange. But yeah, love this video so much.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said, Ian. I didn't hate this movie, but again, I'm not going to full-throated defend it.
Well, it's not Last Airbender, right? So it's
right.
I get that.
And maybe that's why he made that. Maybe that's why M. Night made The Last Airbender so bad. So people are like, this isn't that bad. I think I said the first thing I said in my initial review was, I'm not sure how self-aware M. Night is, and I'm not sure if it matters. But he is doing something that at least I find compelling. Like, I'm thinking about it afterwards, which is saying something, right?
Yeah.
This movie in particularly, I find interesting because it triggered me into, I think, a little bit of insight on M. Night that I hadn't had before, which is the Lady in the Water effect, which is he writes movies like he's telling children bedtime stories. And he said this in interviews before. Like, that's what he gets excited about, is this idea of sitting down with somebody and telling them, a bedtime story kind of thing. And that's like, when you talk about how on the surface everything is here, and how like it's just said out loud. Like, there's a scene in the video about one of the first ones where they're talking about, I forget even what the line is, but it's something to do with, he's playing a game and, you're I wish you could always stay young or something, like that happens over and over again in this movie.
I can't wait to hear what you sound like when you're older. Like, what your singing voice is like when you're older. It's like, I guess that's going to happen then.
Right. So like, everything is so on the surface and so on the nose. And as an adult, you're like, I don't need that, M. Night. But he's like, I'm kind of making a different kind of thing here. I'm kind of doing this. And like, all of his movies are almost seen through the children in the movies right from the beginning, like with Sixth Sense, it's kind of all through the child's eyes. And I even mentioned once, I kind of thought about this, that the reason The Last Avatar doesn't work is because it is a child story that doesn't, like, he likes to tell adult stories through a child's eyes. And Avatar is almost the reverse of that. He's almost trying to turn a child's story into something a little more adult. And that's just not the way he does things. That would be like going backwards in time for him, like it's just impossible for him to do. Having said all that, I totally get why that kind of storytelling doesn't work for most people, because it is very childish. There's a simplicity and on the surfaceness to it that just feels icky to us, like that we don't like. Plus, a lot of stuff in bedtime stories, by the way, doesn't make sense. And he's not concerned about how some of the stuff about like how fast stuff heals or those kind of things. It just doesn't make sense. He's more concerned about, let me tell you a story about a beach where people get old fast. And he just wants to tell the story. So I don't know. M. Night's an interesting one for me. I absolutely love some of his movies. I absolutely hate some of his movies. And then there's ones like this one where I'm like, I kind of see what you're doing here, and I can kind of be on board enough to like it for what it is and know that it's not perfect. But yeah. So those are my M. Night thoughts as an M. Night defender from way back. The movie itself, spilling your baby everywhere, we've mentioned, but I'm going to mention again because it's the best. The laughter then followed by, if you say so, Magic Beach Diary. That made me laugh quite a bit. And then I had to mention also where the shot is just going over the sandcastles and the narrator's just humming the Game of Thrones theme. I thought that was so brilliant.
It was
and
great.
so much
It
fun.
took me a second to place it. I was like, oh shit, what is that? I know what that is. I don't know what it is. And just it kicked in at the last second.
Yeah. No, it's great stuff. Really, really enjoyed it. So there you go. That is old. I guess that means we can move into keeping tabs.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share pornography with one another.
Oh, jeez.
This is the most public yet of my many humiliations.
We're going to take a look at something else from the process of putting together the week's content. Maybe a weird Google search about the percentages of people that participate in anal sex, or a deleted sin, or whatever else we might want to do. Jonathan, why don't you start us off?
I wonder what the outtake transitions are going to be this week.
Yeah.
Mine's anal. Mine's boring because mine is math. I did Aaron kind of hinted at it about there's a comment in the movie where it's where the mother figures out that she says a half hour is equivalent to 1 year in our lives. And so
Right.
I went and did some research on scars and like how fast usually like incisions and deep cuts heal. And the best I could find, I'm surprised, I didn't see if I got called out on this, but I looked in the comments out of curiosity. I didn't catch anything, but best I could find, it was like 3 to 4 weeks. But those scars were popping up pretty quickly, especially with the incisions. So the best way I could figure it out was I took that. So let's say that's close to a month, and let's say it's 3 or 4 seconds, which is basically how long the movie was going. That averages out to about 15 months per minute, which would be half an hour would actually be 37 years, not one.
It's insane.
So that was very confusing to me. And even if it is one, they're still aging way too fast because, I mean, they're aging a lot faster than that even on screen. Although it is weird that they keep the Alex Wolff and is it Thomas and Mackenzie? I think is that who's the other one? The one from Last Night in Soho. They
Is
play
she
the
an old?
kids.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. I think you're right.
They play the kids for a much longer time than they should.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just thought the math was kind of messed up, and so I spent way too long that day doing math, and that's where I got my keeping tabs.
I don't think you guys mentioned it, but another thing I thought that was cynical about that scene when they're doing surgery is they're like, just hold it open while we get this. And it's like, okay, but you do understand if you hold it open now, time is progressing because later you cut somebody with a rusty knife and, and they get poisoned within seconds. Like you're holding that wound, an open wound for months to a year.
Yeah.
You know what happens to an open wound as it ages over? So it's just like, there's not a lot of like really considered thought into how time progression would work in those situations.
Yeah, let's not let it get in the way of the fun. I think
Right.
is
Yeah,
logic.
exactly. Yeah. I'll go next. I already mentioned that the Knight Rider thing was something I'd be talking about. This kind of went through my mind in different forms. I always knew I wanted us to cut to Rick being the narrator, and this comes from an idea I've had for a while, and I'm not taking it off the table. We still may do this. I think it would be really fun in an episode of Rick and Morty where Rick is just on fire with calling the show out on stuff it's doing, that we do a Rick Sins the Show bonus round where it's just Rick, being excellent at CinemaSins, TV Sins for the whole time. I've even thought of what if there was enough that we did the whole video that way. Maybe it was just like if we could get up to like 15 to 20 quotes from Rick in an episode, and we just had Rick be the narrator for an episode, that could be like a kind of a fun. So it kind of came from that idea and just kind of visualizing this idea that Rick would make an excellent TV Sins narrator kind of thing. So I kind of wanted to pass that along.
That's possible with Archer as well, and it might be more possible with Archer because I think they may even there's multiple characters that are kind of criticizing what's going on. So you may need the whole voice cast to do it, but that would be so much fun. That would be great.
Yeah. May still happen. We'll see.
Yeah.
You know, it's definitely out there.
Editors listening to this are like, yeah, sounds great.
No, we're not doing that. You're on your own.
Yeah. You just pull in the narration from somewhere else. That's all. Same idea.
Yeah.
Same idea. Ian, what about you? What's your keeping tabs?
So even though I wrote on everything, apparently, there wasn't a lot that I had to research, but I did have to make sure that I wasn't being overconfident with my Doctor Who knowledge, because it has 60 years behind it now. So there's a lot to pull from, and there's a lot of retconning. And Doctor Who has been retconning since day one. So the Cybermen, for example, they originated in the second Doctor's tenure. However, they decided at some point that wasn't early enough. Like year 3 of the series wasn't enough. So originally they're from a planet called Mondas, and this is twinned with Earth in a parallel dimension somehow, and the Cybermen try to take over Earth because their planet is doomed. But then apparently they also appeared in the first Doctor's adventure called something completely different called the Vord. So I managed to slip the Vord into a sin, and I think there's maybe 3 people on the internet that will know what the Vord are, which is fun. But they weren't happy enough that the Cybermen came from Mondas. They actually had to be linked back to this other super powerful AI, half machine, half biological species called the Vord, and actually they evolved into the Cybermen. But that definitely wasn't planned from the beginning, but it's just something that they retconned because even back then they weren't happy with a new bad guy. That had to link back to something that the audience had already seen to make it more valuable. So I just thought it was fascinating that even back in the 60s we were so obsessed with callbacks and things tying in and making sense. And maybe it was just because Doctor Who lacked the continuity of the same main character. Like, that's something that's tricky to do today, let alone back in the 60s. Like, yeah, we're going to have your main character is going to change every 3 years, and perhaps you're not going to like them. So maybe that's why it's more important to have these bad guys that are more consistent as it goes on.
Yeah,
that was just, for me, that was very interesting.
That is interesting stuff. All right, let's move into the comment section.
I want to know what you're thinking.
I appreciate your honesty. You're a real straight shooter.
You are the ones who are the ball lickers.
We're just going to pull a comment from the week's content from the various places you reach out, whether it be Discord, YouTube, Reddit, etc. Ian, kick us off. What's your comment this week?
So I've got a couple that came from the Doctor Who episode, and this is definitely a correcting the nitpickers. So this is about when we said that Rosita doesn't have a...
Ian, it's nitpicking the nitpickers of the nitpickers. Okay.
I was deliberately shortening it. Thank you. That's fine. Nitpicking the nitpickers of the nitpickers.
Yes.
Triple N.
Yes.
So, anyway, I'm going to edit that out. So, this is about Rosita being a bit useless, the assistant, and not fighting back. And the astute commenter said, in that moment, it may have seemed off for Rosita to say nothing. But if you notice later, Miss Artigan had some blood on her lip, which was the result of Rosita punching her before they escape. Something you quite conveniently left out. I was like, no, didn't conveniently leave it out. That still, for me, doesn't qualify her as an assistant that's given a lot to do. Like, Doctor Who isn't about violence. It's very much about witty retorts and putting the enemy down. A punch to the lip does not a good companion make. So I wanted to give that a bit of a red. She still could have been given so much more to do. But again, it's just
I'm with you.
Focusing on the new Doctor rather than anything else. One person said, "Did you just diss Wallace and Gromit while simultaneously sending Doctor Who? My little British heart is breaking." And I just wanted to point out that it might break even more that a fellow British person wrote that sin. Like, if it wasn't bad enough, it came from a country person. So, sorry.
Nice.
There's one, I don't know how much we'll address this, but there was another comment that said, I do enjoy TV Sins, but I would prefer if the episodes were several episodes in one video. CinemaSins seems to put out seems to put out videos at the same rate as TV Sins, but movies are longer than most television episodes, so it feels like we're getting less content. And then they do have some good grace and say perhaps there's an aspect of the production of TV Sins that makes the process longer that I don't know about. So it's great because they want more content, they want to see more from us, and I'm wondering why. And the reason is we write for CinemaSins as well. There is only so much we could write.
Yeah. It's not like there's the same group of people working on each. It's
exactly, and that's an easy thing. There's no way to know that. That's an easy thing to not know. There's 6 of us that are working on CinemaSins, and there's 3 on TV Sins. With occasionally some of the A-team will jump in and pick something up.
There's 4
with us. 4?
4. I missed it. 4 what?
TV Sins. There's 4 regular writers.
4 for TV Sins. Sorry, 4 for TV Sins. So it's just it's person power. That's all it is. We can't write much more than we're writing now.
No, we cannot. We're with you. We would love to do more content, and we do have videos with multiple episodes. That is definitely something that's available for some of the bigger shows that we do where we've done entire seasons. So yes, that is something we want as well. We are with you, but we are only 6 people, and we have a lot of stuff to write. So yeah, I'll go next. I wanted to mention from Austin, and this was about The Breakfast Club, and he just lists a bunch of fun facts about the movie. We don't often do this, but these were interesting enough to me. So I wanted to pass them along. He says, the fun facts for those who don't know about the movie: budget was $1 million, and the library that most of the film takes place in was actually built over a gymnasium in an abandoned school. Interior shots of the halls may be recognized from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. The whole movie was shot in order from start to finish. That's pretty rare.
That's really rare. That's cool.
Interesting. Judd Nelson went to a real school and attended classes to get into character. The scene where they are smoking, John Hughes let the cameras roll and the actors did whatever they wanted. That scene, the scene that includes why each of them is in detention, was completely 100% improvised. No lines were written, as is possibly suggested in the video. So yeah, that's really interesting.
Really interesting.
I found all this stuff interesting. And then the only other thing I wanted to mention was from Justin during the Rick and Morty video. I almost decided to play audio with this, but then decided I don't have to. But the comment is just, and it's liked a few times, the comment is just, the way he pronounces cereal is doing my head in. And as a narrator, these kind of comments are really interesting to me. I don't take them personally because he's not even saying it's bad or anything like that. But you start to realize you maybe pronounce words differently than most people. Do people just do 2 syllables with that word usually? Like, is it just cereal? Or like what? Like, how is me saying cereal? Like, is there something weird about how I'm saying it?
It's not something I picked up on, but yeah, a few people agree. But cereal, as in breakfast cereal.
Yeah, cereal. I don't know. I don't know if
maybe you put a bit of extra thing on the first syllable. Cereal. Yeah,
cereal.
I think you put a bit of extra length on the first one.
I don't know.
But accents are strange. They're different.
Yeah. Anyhow, I always find that kind of stuff interesting, so I wanted to mention it as well. Jonathan.
I just had a real quick one. It was from old. There was a sin where when it shows all the people at the end that are involved in the research, the sin was finding this many people that are perfectly okay with murder. And then this commenter said, finding this many people that are perfectly okay with murder is actually something I would find believable, including from a pharmaceutical company. Have you seen their prices for life-saving devices? And fair enough.
Yeah.
They might.
Yeah, it's tacit approval, isn't it, that making it so expensive will result in deaths. Yeah.
As somebody who has a diabetic son, let me just say, I hear you. I feel you. The price of insulin is insane.
Or if your kid needs like a pen, like for an allergy,
yeah,
like an EpiPen. Yeah, totally. Very, very true. Let's move into Beyond the Sins.
To infinity and beyond.
Somewhere beyond my wild history.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
We're just going to chat about something else from the world of pop culture that we've seen recently. I'm going to channel Danae Hughes and do an app game for my Beyond the Sins. I have really been into this Beatstar game. I think I've got Ian into it. I think Danae is now into it as well. Beatstar is basically just like old school Guitar Hero style, like play the note on the beat, but you're just using your thumbs. And there are 3 progressive columns that may have beats that you should hit. Sometimes there are arrows you have to slide in a certain way, but it's all just rhythm based. So the concept is pretty simple, but the execution makes me feel like a music god. Like there's just something about like when you are hitting these beats perfectly, like you almost feel like you're creating the music. If you've played Guitar Hero or Rock Band or some of those, you know this feeling. It's that same kind of feeling. And there is something really intoxicating about this. The app itself is laid out pretty well too. Like it's fun. Plus, it uses a lot of modern music that is just fun to listen to and to kind of go over and over. And I'm having a blast with it. Basically, you collect songs. And then you try to beat those songs and you get different ratings up to 5 stars. And then there's like gold, platinum, and diamond after that you can achieve your rankings on. It's a lot of fun. I'm just having a blast with it. And if you do decide to play, my username is simply my name, Aaron Dicer. So feel free to add me as a friend if you like.
And we have definitely not been gloating about who has the highest score on certain songs.
Listen, I've been doing good. I
have been killing it.
I just mean I'm not. I want to let you guys, build up your thumb dexterity before I start really like gloating about my scores.
No, I shared one song that I had number 1. The next thing that Aaron shared was him destroying my high score.
Listen, I knew you were going to think that. I knew you were going to think that. I only shared that because it's the best score I've ever had on a song.
It just happens to be on the only one that I was top on.
It does just happen to be because they I don't know if you know this, but they have a daily challenge. That song was my daily challenge. I didn't go to play it because I saw your score on it. It was actually the one they presented me to play. I had to play it. So
that's fine. That's how you had to do it. You had no choice. You couldn't say no to the daily challenge.
You, Ian. I had no choice.
And you had to share it. Exactly. Nice. No, it's fine. It's great. I love it.
Listen, you're doing well. You've been playing one day and you're already scoring golds. So like you're gonna get there. You'll get there fast. Yeah, I know it. So anyway, It's called Beatstar, and as you can tell, I'm having a blast with it, and so I thought I might pass that along. Jonathan, what about you?
I saw this movie like a week and a half ago, but it's just, I don't know, it stuck with me, so I thought I'd talk about it a little bit. So it's Red Rocket, which is Sean Baker's new movie here at the end of the year, Oscar push kind of thing. I have not seen anything by him before, so I haven't seen The Florida Project.
Oh, okay.
I haven't seen Tangerine. My friend who I saw Red Rocket with, though, he said this was very similar, at least with the supporting characters and stuff, the way they were conversing felt very much like Florida Project, where I'm not sure all of these people are professional actors, but I don't know that. I mean, they might be. I don't know. I didn't love this movie. I would say overall, I thought it was okay. There's not a whole lot going on in it. I think that's just for me personally, from a storytelling standpoint, it wasn't really catching me. It wasn't really interesting me because there's just not a whole lot going on. The main thing about this, whether or not I think you're going to come away with it from a positive standpoint, is Simon Rex. I think this movie is 100% on his shoulders, and I found that fascinating because I'm old enough to remember when MTV VJs were like a thing, and I don't even know if they really have them anymore because they don't show a lot of music videos anymore. So I'm not even really sure how much of a thing that is anymore. But Simon Rex is in this movie. He's playing I guess a former adult movie star, and he's kind of at a crossroads. I guess I don't think the movie ever really tells you exactly what he's running away from or why he got in the predicament he's in, but he is back in his hometown. I can't even remember where this was set. Do you know, Aaron? Do you remember?
I don't. It seems like Texas. It feels right.
Yes. That's right. Yeah, somewhere in Texas, and he's back. He's living with his ex-girl, I guess his wife. Maybe it's still his wife. Actually, they're that's one of the early things you find out is they're not divorced yet. But they have been separated for a while, and she was doing movies with him for a while, and then she ended up going back before he did. And so it's just kind of about him coming back to his hometown and trying to do something, I guess, to make some money. And in the process, he comes across this very young girl. She's supposed to be 17 in the movie, which, from my understanding, the reason it's set where it's set is because that's technically the legal age of consent in that state. I don't know how much better that makes it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I will say the one thing about that it's not like just completely driving me away from the film is I don't think the movie in any way rewards him for this. Like, it's not like he's not a winner. Like, he's not, it's not approached as a positive thing. Right.
Well, I mean, especially considering it's not just the statutory underage part of it. It's also the grooming part of it. Like he is grooming her to do, to basically be her. He's basically being her pimp for adult, work is what he wants.
He thinks because her name's Strawberry. He's like, he keeps saying that to like his friends and stuff. She's already got a porn name. It's really creepy. The movie is, I guess, supposed to be a comedy for the most part, and there are moments that I laughed. I really like Simon Rex, though. I think he's doing a really good job here. And like I said, obviously an MTV VJ and an adult film star are two different things, but I do think it's interesting in the fact I don't think it's a coincidence that he was hired to play this part. I think that the MTV VJ still has like that really super like quick shot of stardom if you get to that level. I think Carson Daly's probably the one example of one that has eclipsed that and has actually been able to make that into like, he's developed a career since then. Most people, maybe they get to do a couple movies or something. Maybe you get to be like Tom Green or something. And that's kind of what Simon Rex did. He did a couple of scary movies. He had like a really short-lived TV series, I think like on CW or something. And was somewhat successful there for a minute and then kind of went back down. And so I think that fits perfectly with the character that he's playing, because I do think even though he wasn't an adult film entertainer, I think there probably are things from his life that he can pull into this. I'm not saying Simon Rex is this person. I'm sure he's a very nice person, and I'm sure he's not like somebody that's going to go try to groom a 17-year-old. But I'm just saying, as far as like the being like somewhat high in life and then kind of having to come back down and, kind of figure out what you're going to do moving forward. I think he does bring that aspect to it. So I don't know. It's a really interesting movie. And like I said, it's stuck with me. Like, I can't stop thinking about it. I still don't really think it's that good. It's like a slight recommend. Like, I think there's enough there that I think some people are going to get a lot more out of it than I did. Aaron, I think I read your review on Letterboxd. I think you liked it even a little less than I did.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
Yeah. But I did like Simon Rex, and I'm curious to see what he does moving forward, because I'm more than interested. I'm very interested in seeing him in some other things. And I don't know what I think about Sean Baker. Like I said, this was the first movie I've seen of his. It's not making me really want to go seek out either of his other movies. I might at some point. I don't know. My friends tell me Florida Project's really good, so maybe I'll check that out at some point. But this was just okay for me.
Yeah, I haven't got Sean Baker. I think he makes compelling movies, and like I said, compelling is better than boring, in my opinion. This movie specifically, I just couldn't find my way into what I cared about. Because I didn't like any of the characters, because I wasn't invested in anything they were doing. Like, I couldn't find like my, what I was supposed to be caring about in this movie. It seemed obsessed with his personality, but I didn't know what it was trying to tell me about. It didn't seem to interrogate it that much. It seemed to use his charm and charisma to maybe try to say something about charm and charisma in people, but I couldn't find it. So I couldn't find my way into Red Rocket in a meaningful way, and so I really didn't care for it. But I mean, there certainly are a lot of people who this is one of their favorite movies of the year. So
yeah, for sure.
People, Sean Baker is speaking to a certain audience. It's not me apparently. I think Florida Project is better than this. I think you might like Florida Project.
And Tangerine, I remember the year that came out. That made a lot of top 10 lists. Like that was a big deal. So maybe I will check those out. This one just maybe wasn't the way to go for my first film of his. Yeah. But
Ian, what about you?
Well, we're going to go from something quite profound and something big to talk about to a film that is not that.
So you're going to talk about Spider-Man? Cool.
Yeah. Oh, ouch. We're not going to do that. But we're going to talk about Kate, which is a 2021 Netflix film that came out in September.
I have not seen this, but
I wouldn't bother. I think you're probably better off watching Terminator Rise of the Machines, which is the movie this movie is genuinely trying to be. So much so that it references it. So I was, throughout the first half of this film, I was thinking, man, this is mighty like specifically Arnie's performance in Terminator 3. And then Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who's our lead, is even called,
Love her.
You like the Terminator, aren't you? She's great. She's easily the best bit about this film, but this film is so disappointing. The premise is that she's been poisoned as, well, she's an assassin. It's like Salt, Ava. Was it Ava or Anna? Ava. The one with, not going to remember her name.
Lucy? Are you talking about the Scarlett Johansson movie?
No, there's another one with...
There was a Luc Besson movie called Anna that came out a couple years ago.
Which is Jessica Chastain.
That's not a Jessica Chastain movie, so I don't know what you're thinking of.
Jessica Chastain did a film that was just her. It was Ava or Anna. I think it was Ava, and she's an assassin.
I think you're correct, yes.
Somebody will get there first.
Somebody will get there.
No, but that is confusing because there is another assassin movie called Anna. I understand, but it is Ava. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, there's so many. Anyway, it's like that, but this is probably the worst that I've seen. The premise is that she's an assassin. She's been poisoned and has a matter of hours to live, and her mission is to find out.
Oh, so it's also Crank.
It's also Crank. Yeah. So her mission is to find out who killed her and kill them. So it stars Mary Elizabeth Winstead and Woody Harrelson. If you haven't guessed the twist in the first 5 minutes, I'm not going to say you're stupid, but I would be surprised if you didn't guess the twist in the first 5 minutes.
Was Bruce Willis dead the whole time?
He's dead the whole time.
Okay.
It's not. It doesn't lessen the movie if you guess the twist, but it was so hard to avoid once you have guessed it. So
I just have a question before we move too far away from Jonathan's statement, and then I'll let you continue, Ian. But is somebody going to do a eulogy for, or what's the printed thing you do for somebody who dies? The
obituary. Yeah.
Is somebody going to do Bruce Willis's obituary, just one line? He was actually dead the whole time.
I hope so.
Oh my God.
It's gotta be. That would be amazing.
Okay, continue on. Sorry.
But yeah, I had high hopes for this because I always like the one person versus the world type of movies like Taken, etc. But this, I don't know what this film is trying to do. It's an absolute mess. It's all over the place now. The director, Cedric Nicholas Troyan, was a visual effects artist primarily and has directed Snow White and the Huntsman and this. And you can see that visually, this is a super pretty film. Like there is neon everywhere. There's some great visuals, but the story is just there. The action is fine, but pretty meaningless. It tries to pack an emotional punch and doesn't. It was so bland, I nearly fell asleep. So yeah, it's a hard recommend.
That's quite a surprise there.
Watch it. It's so bad.
My goodness. This is a hard warn. It's not a record warn or anything. It is just don't bother.
Why is nobody talking about 2021? There were so many of these movies, like Gunpowder Milkshake. Nobody.
That's the one I was going to mention. Gunpowder Milkshake is the other one.
There was one with Kate Beckinsale that I watched. I can't remember the name of that one. There was like Sweet Girl was the one with dude from Game of Thrones, Aquaman, that guy. I mean, it just seemed like there was all these like somebody's something bad's happened to him. They've got to get revenge. You know, the John Wick. It feels like these are all after John Wick became popular.
Everybody is trying to make Jane Wick. Everybody.
Yes, 100%.
I get it, but I just do something different. Like, my favorite have been the Charlize Theron ones like this. I think she is incredible in these kinds of movies.
She's killing it. So
yeah,
good.
Atomic Blonde is in my opinion, a great movie.
That's definitely stuck with me. That's definitely improved in my mind after I've seen a bunch of these. So
yeah,
yeah. This is Terminator 3 plus John Wick.
I actually like Terminator 3
plus Tokyo Drift. Bad, but really, and I'm not joking. It's all three of those movies, but not good. Have you seen it, Aaron?
I have. Yeah, I think the only reason to watch it is Winstead, who it continues to be just an amazing actor.
She's great.
I love what she does.
I will say the one with Kate Beckinsale, I think I talked about that in A Beyond the Sins. That one wasn't bad, but I can't remember the name of it now. So that's not good.
Oh, the one with Kate. I don't think I saw that one, actually.
It is Jolt. So
yes, I didn't see Jolt. I never got around to seeing Jolt. I was told
that's kind
by
of
many people that I didn't need to. So
I mean, I don't think you need to watch it. But if you like Kate Beckinsale, she's good. It's fun. Like, it's just a fun. It's more along the lines of something like Crank, I think. But it's not great by any means. I mean, you're not missing out on anything. I haven't seen, which nobody is Bob Odenkirk. It's not a woman, but that one also I put in this kind of revenge movie.
I really liked that. That felt different.
I definitely want to watch it.
I really enjoyed that. That it's because it's odd seeing Bob Odenkirk kick some butt, and I think the action in that is worth watching.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll check it out.
Yeah. My review of Kate, my one-line review was, it's fine. I'm just tired of this formula and wish the movie had more to say and a few more creative ways to say it. And that Winstead is great. So, yeah.
It's a non-entry.
Yeah, I agree. Well, there you go. That's Kate, which is on Netflix. Red Rocket is out in limited release. Hopefully will be available soon. And Beatstar should be available in your app store. That's going to wrap it up for Behind the Sins this week. Don't forget to make sure you're subscribed and go ahead and leave a comment or rating as well. If you've got anything you want to send us, mail it to P.O. Box 881, Republic, Missouri, 65738. You can hang out with us on Twitter. I'm at Aaron Dicer. He is at Wits End.
WHITTSINNED.
And he is at Sam Loomis 13. So for Jonathan Watkins, Ian Whittington, some Spilled Baby, and myself, we will see you next week.
Happy National Rubber Ducky Day.
Thanks for listening. Send any feedback to bts@cinemasins.com and be sure to subscribe, rate, and comment. Find more ways to connect by visiting cinemasins.com/BTS.
Cereal.
You guys got all of the snow.
We got a bunch earlier in the week too. We were only supposed to get like 1 inch on Monday, and we got like 6.
Oof. A surprise 5 inches is never welcome.
That was intentional. Cereal. I am still 10 years after moving here, still amazed by how little snow or ice it takes to just shut everything down. And it makes more sense to me now, because I understand, like, they don't have the they're not used to dealing with it all the time, so they're not investing money in multiple salting trucks.
Yeah, we don't have heaters under the streets
right,
and
yes,
stuff like that.
You don't.
Yeah, that's what I totally get where you're coming from, but that does irritate me sometimes, because I'm like, great, I'm glad you lived somewhere that was worse.
Cereal. And that's what I've come to understand, right? Like that's the beauty of listening, right? That's the beauty of perspective. Is I move here and I'm like, you guys are wimps, and people are like, hold on just a second. Let me explain to you how it's different here. And they're like, oh yeah, differences. Okay. I mean, that's the beauty of conversation, is figuring out, oh, I had a limited perspective. Now I have a greater perspective of, how bad weather affects different people in different worlds. And that is how we solve the world, ladies and gentlemen. World peace. Cereal.
Do you get a lot of snow where you are, Ian?
No, it's exactly the same problem. Aaron very succinctly nicked the point that I was about to make, and is that we have the same complaint every year that literally 2 inches of snow will literally derail trains and literally derail the entire country and shut everything down. Mm-hmm. But that 2 inches comes maybe once every 2 or 3 years. So why invest in something that is so rare, especially a government that's around for 5 years? Why are they going to invest in something that will only affect them maybe once or twice? Just accept that it's going to be shut down. And funnily enough, we're getting quite used to things shutting down on a regular basis.
Yeah. Yeah. Cereal.
But they even closed like theaters and all kinds of stuff, which they normally don't do. So it was bad enough to where they just closed everything. So I think this time, but if it's just a couple inches, like Ian's saying, they probably do let the schools out, but that's not a scenario where you're going to get out of work. So then you got to figure out,
Yeah.
What are you going to do with your kids?
The worst ends of both situations, don't you?
I mean,
sometimes it just takes a couple inches to do the trick, I mean...
No, to have a kid, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Cereal.
I can just tell you, as a parent that was with their daughter every single day for about 11 months, I was very happy for her to go back to school. But
Kids.
Not as happy as she was to get away from me.
Cereal. I will just say, if the pandemic happens 15 years ago, I don't know that my wife and I survive. I don't know with
really?
4 kids.
Talk about no internet.
Oh, I thought you meant no internet, not just the fact that there were kids.
Well, no, but think about if this happened in the 80s. How would people have even? I mean, I guess there was actually.
Ian, do you not think there was internet 15 years ago? You know there was internet 15 years ago, right? Cereal.
We didn't have iPhones.
Yeah.
We didn't have apps. I definitely had dial-up in 2006.
Yeah.
The internet.
We had dial-up
isn't the
till
internet back then.
2005.
We had plenty of VeggieTale videos. That's all we needed. Just throw in the VeggieTale videos. Everybody's going to be okay. Cereal. 15 years ago, we would have had 3, 5, 7, and 9 that we'd have been keeping home all day. So, yeah.
With only MySpace to keep them entertained.
Yes. Cereal.
But yeah, I don't know how people that just had like a 1-bedroom apartment survived. That would be rough, especially if you had a kid or something. Because at least we had a house. We have a big enough house to where we can go to 3 separate areas if we need to.
Yeah, right?
So,
well, that is the other thing. 15 years ago, we were living in a 700 square foot home with, two bedrooms and 1 bathroom. So yeah.
Only one of you would have survived. I don't know who it would have been. Probably the baby.
Cereal. I know what baby tastes like.
Wait, what?
Wait, do you not get that reference? Ian needs the reference.
No, I do not get that reference.
Oh, you haven't seen Snowpiercer?
Snowpiercer?
Oh, I've seen Snowpiercer.
Yeah,
once,
Chris Evans says that.
Chris Evans. He's like,
oh, fair enough.
The worst thing is, I know what baby tastes like. And I know that they taste the best.
And then I was kind of surprised at how many people were laughing at that. I was like, no, that is kind of funny now that I think about it.
What the shit?
Cereal.
By the way, that was a movie that was way too overhyped for me. I liked it, but it took a second viewing for it to really set in because
I really like Snowpiercer.
When I watched it the first time, though, everyone had just said it was amazing. So I was just like, it was fine.
I mean, it's really well done.
It's like Scream is getting all these early advanced words that it's really good, but it's that always worries me because it's like.
I mean, is there an advanced review that wouldn't worry you, Jonathan? If it's negative, would that set you up for
No, but
success?
if it was if it was 50-50, I mean, if it was
straight down the middle, and then you can go into that level.
I think you have to, even people that have been doing it for years, I think there is something about seeing something before everybody else. I think there is an excitement level there.
I agree.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So I understand that's going to elevate it a little bit or possibly do the opposite,
That's fair.
So,
it may polarize your opinion one way or the other.
But I just, especially with horror movies and just I like horror movies, obviously. I'm a horror fan, but just listening to talking to people that are also horror fans and being involved in horror Twitter at all and stuff whatever you want to call it. Yeah. I do find that there's a forgiveness given in a way that I typically don't forgive movies for, I guess. So I just don't ever know how to take it when people are like, oh no, this definitely brings Scream back and it's, it's awesome. And I don't know. It's it's still the 5th movie in a franchise.
Cereal.
But, the 5th Mission Impossible movie is really good. So, I mean, I guess anything's, 5th Fast and Furious movie is good. Anything's possible.
Yeah, many think
the 5th Star Trek movie is terrible.
Yes.
18 minutes. Took us 18 minutes to get to Star Trek. Cereal.
But I will say, just because it was so panned back then, that one's aged better.
You're absolutely wrong. It's still the only redeeming factor in that film.
I didn't say it was good. I said it's aged better. I said it's better than
I disagree.
Cereal.
No, I like it better now than I did in 1989.
What
I
does
guarantee
God
you.
need with a spaceship?
Hey, let's go back to Bong Joon-ho. Because
No, I think the opening's good.
Because
The opening is good with the rock climbing. Go climb a rock. That's good.
Cereal. Because I almost always forget that Snowpiercer is Bong Joon-ho, and he's just so good. And like,
Is that is he the one that did like Mother and
Parasite?
Mother.
No, not that Mother. Not the Mother with the exclamation point. No.
Oh, there's a different one.
Did he do The Host?
He did. That might be my favorite. Parasite, of course, is supposed to be everybody's favorite Bong Joon-ho, but The Host is so good.
I've only seen it once. That was another one that was hyped up quite a bit, and I was like, it was okay.
Cereal.
So according to an article on IndieWire, Bong Joon-ho's second or third favorite film is Pulp Fiction, which was directed by Tarantino. And there's still rumors that he's going to make a Star Trek film.
That Tarantino's going to make a Star Trek film. I knew exactly where you were going. Like, I saw your gears turning, Ian. Like, I was like, he's playing 6 Degrees of Star Trek, and he's going to get us back to Star Trek in two moves. Cereal.
I watched Topaz for the first time last night.
Nice. What'd you think?
I didn't really like it, but
yeah, it's not that great.
It was really, really slow. Like
it is. It's very slow.
And it also kind of lost me at times. Like I was a little confused, but it's one of a handful of there are some very early Hitchcock I haven't seen. Like I haven't seen Young and Innocent. I haven't seen Jamaica Inn, Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Yeah, those are in the silent era. Yeah.
Well, I mean, those aren't silent films, but they're around that. They're in the 30s.
Yeah, they're in the 30s. Yeah.
Pre-1940, I've seen Lady Vanishes. I've seen The Man Who Knew Too Much, and I feel like there's another 39 Steps. Like I've seen those, the big ones, but I haven't seen a lot of. But as far as the later stuff, I haven't seen The Wrong Man.
That's worth seeing. It's
no,
not.
I will definitely watch it. I don't know.
It's the most non-Hitchcock movie in my opinion, other than maybe Trouble with Henry. But Trouble with Henry is also still very
Trouble
Hitchcock.
with Harry.
Harry, sorry, yeah.
I love that movie though. That's like one of my. So
it's
good.
a straight comedy basically.
But I haven't seen The Wrong Man. I haven't seen The Paradigm Case, and I hadn't seen Topaz. So I watched Topaz yesterday because it's on Criterion Channel. But nice. What I was trying to figure out was how old Tarantino is now. Because that's a movie that Tarantino brings up when he talks about like why he doesn't want to direct for the rest of his life, because he's like, I don't want to make Topaz. And then he also talks about Billy Wilder, like, I don't want to make The Buddy System. He's like, I want my last film to be a good one, and which I would argue that Hitchcock did make. The two he made after Topaz, Frenzy and Family Plot, are good. They're not great, but I think they're both good.
They're not great. Yeah.
But I think they're good movies.
Cereal.
Let's see. So Tarantino is 63. So what is that? That's he's 60, almost 59.
How old was Hitchcock when he made Topaz?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. So Hitchcock made Topaz in 68. Well, it came out in 69, but he would have been. Well, he was born in 1899. So no, he would have been. He would have been 60, right? No.
He would have been 70. He would have just turned 70 in 69.
So they are about 10 years different. So I guess that still does count, because I assume Tarantino, I mean, he hasn't announced anything, so I'm guessing it's going to be 2024 before we get his last film.
Because he said from the beginning, I'm going to make this many movies, right?
Yeah, he's going to make 10. He's not counting one of them, though. I don't think he's counting
Is he counting Kill Bill as one or two?
Maybe that's it. Maybe he's counting. Because I think he's done. If you count Grindhouse, which I can't, Death Proof, because he's done. Hold on, I think he's done 10 films if you count Death Proof, which I mean you should, because he directed it. But it's also part of a movie. But it's also been kind of like separated into its own thing. So he's done. I can't think.
Wait, hold on, Ian. Are you a big Hitchcock fan?
2, 3.
I can't be a Hitchcock fan because I don't think I've seen a single Hitchcock movie.
Yay, we found our thing, Jonathan. You and I can geek out about Hitchcock, and Ian doesn't know anything about it. Cereal.
You haven't seen Psycho or The Birds? You haven't seen any of those?
No, it's really
interesting.
You'd think I would have accidentally seen
one of them
yours,
at
some point. Like I've seen. What's some dumb films that I've seen? Many dumb films that I've seen, but nothing by Hitchcock.
Star Trek 1 through...
Get out.
Cereal.
I do this all the time. My friend Dave and I were talking the other day. I was like, I haven't seen Seven Samurai, but I've seen Jason Takes Manhattan like 35 times.
Right, yeah.
You know?
We've all got that.
Everybody
We've all
has
got that. Yeah.
I've seen Halloween Season of the Witch 3 times, but I haven't watched a single Alfred Hitchcock
I've
film.
seen Season of the Witch way more than 3 times. I watch that every Halloween now.
I watched it for the first time this year. I actually thought it's one of the better Halloween movies. It does some really weird stuff.
You're wrong.
Serial.
If that had been Halloween 2, I think it would have been a hit. I think because they did one more with Michael Myers in it, though, it pissed people off. Because the idea was that John Carpenter was going to turn it into an anthology series. So every Halloween, you'd have a new story.
Mm-hmm.
But I think them making Halloween 2 the way they made it fucked them. Because at that point, you've had 2 movies with Michael Myers, and everybody's like, well, where's Michael Myers? And
even if it's crappy, we're still waiting for him to slow walk towards us with a butcher's knife.
You don't think Season of the Witch would be in the top half of Halloween movies?
Oh, it absolutely is. No, without a question. But that has more to do with the fact that Halloween sequels are terrible.
That's what I'm saying. All the Halloween...
Okay, top half. Yeah, okay, fine.
Yeah, because you're talking about, 12 films. It's going to be 13 next year, if you count the zombies, which you should. I mean, they're their own thing, but they...
Serial.
I think Halloween 4 is the best sequel, hands down. That's my opinion. But I still don't think it's great. Like, nothing tops the first one. Nothing even comes close to the first one, in my opinion.
Mine, not even close. 2018 comes close, but it's still a different beast. My problem with 4 is that the mask looks ridiculous, and
but it does it on the poster. That's the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life.
It's so strange. It's so strange. And B, this is where he is supernatural. Like, he is machine gunned down, or is it a shotgun or something? He takes such a beating at the end of that film that I'm just not... You can't be scared of him anymore because he's Predator.
Yeah, that's true.
He's dead at the end of that film.
I think the thing I like about 4 is that I think Dwight H. Little's a pretty good director. I think he's probably the best director of the series with the exception of Carpenter, and or at least the best that got the series. And then Danielle Harris is so good as the little girl, which is weird because I don't know that she's that great of an actor based on what she's done since then, but she's really good in that movie.
Serial.
So are you watching the Friday the 13th films too?
No.
You should be.
Yeah, I thought about adding those. See, with Halloween, Carpenter made a great first movie. Like the Friday the 13th movies feel more like schlock all the way through.
They are a little. No. They are, but like there's just something very interesting about that franchise. I don't know.
I mean, they certainly.
I don't know how to explain it.
No. They certainly have impacted culture in a big enough way that I probably should. But
I will say, Part 6 is really fascinating because that came out like in '86, I think. And what's fascinating about that is it's very meta. Which was not at that point really anything that had ever happened. Like, this is 10 years before Scream, and so that one's always kind of interested me for that, just because it's so just like on the nose. It knows what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and it just full blown goes into it. But no, you're definitely right. I mean, there's a little bit more schlockiness to the whole affair. I mean, because the first one was just made because of Halloween.
Yeah, I feel the same way about the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, too. Like, I don't have that urge to put them in my lexicon.
Yeah, but Craven's a filmmaker. Like, Craven's a really good filmmaker. So I think the first one is worth watching.
Yeah. That's the one that Depp's in?
Yes, it is, with all of the blood and whatnot. All of the blood. That really didn't help in a horror film, did it?
Serial.
I don't know. There's something about I like that's just really cool. And maybe this was part being a kid when they came out, but there's just something so interesting about your dreams coming to life. And
there's some great visuals in
there's some really interesting practical effects that work that is pretty fascinating. Stuff like they wouldn't do that now. It'd all be CG now, which might be better. I don't know. But I'm still curious. I think England could do one more, but it's got to be soon.
Serial. I think a Nightmare on Downing Street would be nice. And
you wouldn't have anybody coming to the rescue though. It'd be like, let them burn.
I just, if England can do the next one, then that's what I would vote.
There we go.
Serial. Oh, hello, and welcome to Behind the Sins. This morning we are taking place at 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, and happy that you all were. Serial. Listen, when there's something you'll never live down, you just accept it and make it part of your own. That's how you deal with things. Yeah. Great to see you all in the chat. Nick and Apathy 8417, RB Golbats, Oversoul, Nice, good group. JCD hanging out in there as well. Lots of cinnamon roll conversation. Derek saying, wow, made it just in time. Congratulations. Making it on time. Yeah.
If anything, you're 2 hours early.
Cereal. No, Ian. See, I already made the joke. It's just completely,
Yeah, but acknowledging the joke doesn't excuse you from it.
No excuse at all.
It's like making a film saying that's weird. Like, yeah, it is. Why did you do it?
Making the joke myself means when you make the joke 30 seconds later, it just falls a little bit flat. It's just not quite as much.
We'll see how the editing makes it look. I think I'm going to come off very well.
I think you might. Cereal.
What are your time zones, Ian? Is that different?
Just the one. It's just us in England. Yeah,
it's just the England time zone.
I mean, we're arrogant enough to call it that, but no, it is just GMT, and then we share that with like Scotland and Ireland and Wales and stuff, and then it gets squiffy when you go to Italy and Spain. I think they're an hour ahead or behind, something like that. Yeah, when you get to the mainland, then it starts to change.
Is there anything like something? This will show my lack of geography knowledge, but does because it's Africa that's below Europe, right? Like, so does it show any of?
Yeah, way below. Yeah.
Does any of that cross over with any of Africa? Does GMT kind of extend down that way?
I can't answer that, but I know it's about being horizontal rather than vertical, isn't it? With time zones.
No, it's definitely vertical. Yeah,
no, it's vertical. It's vertical, not horizontal.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way around. Yeah. You're asking the wrong person. I write dumb things about movies. I don't do geography.
Cereal. England is basically the Jesus of time zones. We base the years around the birth of Christ, and we base the time zones around England. Mm-hmm. So there you go.
Everyone stabs us in the back and buries us in a cave for 3 days.
Yes.
Wait, when did that happen?
Cereal. Time zones, I hate them. I want them all to go away. Let's just all go with the same thing, and we'll know what it means to us.
Yep, as long as I keep mine.
That's right. Cereal. I'm really impressed. We have covered a lot of ground during the outtakes.
We jumped around.
Cereal. All right. Love you guys. Go. Catch you next time. Bye. We've killed Ian. Cereal. Rubber ducky, you're the one. You make bath time lots of fun. Rubber ducky, I'm awfully fond of you. Boop boop be doop.
Anal.